الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسول الكريم وعلى آله وأصحابه ومن استنى بسنة إلى يوم الدين. All praise is due to Allah, and may Allah's peace and blessings be on His last Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam, and on all those who follow the path of righteousness until the last day. The topic has been introduced already, is the importance of stories in the Qur'an, the stories of the Qur'an. When we look at the stories in the Qur'an, we need to look at it within the context of the Qur'an itself. The Qur'an being Allah's final communication to human beings in the form of scripture. And we find that the Qur'an employs a variety of methods to convey a message to human beings. The style of the Qur'an is unique. It is different from any book that's available on the market today. Normally when people pick up books, you expect a book to follow a particular pattern, where subjects are introduced, a storyline is developed, a climax, and an ending. Whereas the Qur'an, if we begin from Surah Al-Fatiha, and we work our way through to Surah An-Nas, the last chapter of the Qur'an, we don't find that to be the basic overall pattern of the book. What we find is that Allah is talking about a variety of different topics. Sometimes He talks about moral issues, sometimes He talks about creation, sometimes He talks about the prophets, sometimes He talks about the laws that the society should follow. And the topics seem to flow from one into the other. People who are uninformed about the mode by which the Qur'an expresses itself sometimes find it confusing. You'll find Orientalists saying, well, I read the Qur'an and I found it to be confusing. Doesn't make sense. Doesn't seem to follow any kind of pattern. But that is because they haven't understood the basic theme of the Qur'an. The basic theme of the Qur'an is the subject matter about which the Qur'an focuses is human beings. It is Allah communicating to human beings, speaking to human beings. And when we speak, when we talk, we don't talk like books. Whether the book is a storybook or whether it is a technical journal, we don't talk that way. That's how we write. But when we talk, if we sit down and we talk with somebody for 1 hour, we're not going to talk one story for 1 hour. You know, we start introducing people to ideas and a story and a climax, and we don't talk like that. How do we talk? We start to talk about something. And then some other idea comes to our mind, so we start to talk about this other thing. And then whilst we're talking, another idea comes, we start to talk about something else. But it is still a conversation between ourselves. We're talking to somebody, and because of the fact that we are communicating around some basic ideas, it doesn't matter where I'm coming from, the basic idea is there, and so that links up everything. What you find is that the Qur'an communicates to us in the same way. It's a direct communication. Allah is talking to us. And so the ideas flow the way that ideas flow in a human conversation. Because Allah has reduced that communication to the level of human comprehension. So this is the nature of the Qur'an. And what you find within the Qur'an are bits and pieces of stories. stories are employed. Why? Because it is the nature of human beings to enjoy stories. From we're children. As children, the best way to teach children is in the form of stories. We know that. Kids love stories. And the reality is that though we're grown up, we're still kids in the inside, in that sense that we love stories. We still like a good story. I mean, when you think of what movies are about and the great novels and etc., they're all stories. Ideas are communicated through stories, many ideas in society today. And what we find is that some of the greatest criticisms, for example, of social conditions in society, which reach the widest audiences, were through stories. If we look at the story known as David Copperfield, written by Charles Dickens, this dealt with the exploitation of children in the Victorian society. And it reached a wide offer. We're still reading it even till today. And if you look at George Orwell's 1984, he spoke about the interference of the state in the lives of its citizens, something we're experiencing today. And so you find that the story or the expression of ideas through stories continues to play a very vital role in our communication today. So the Qur'an employs stories. The difference, though, is that the Quranic stories are all true. When Charles Dickens wrote, when George Orwell wrote, these are stories they made up. They made up these stories to try to convey some idea. And the ideas were effectively conveyed. However, the stories of the Qur'an are true. This is a fundamental difference. And it's not really a problem in the sense that, for us to accept, in the sense that there's a saying that people commonly make, and that is, life is stranger than fiction. Life is stranger than fiction. That in the lives of people, you can find things that go far beyond the fiction, the stories that people make up. And this is what Allah has done. He has taken from the real world examples and brought them to us as a means of communicating that message, the message which is explained in the Qur'an in a variety of other ways, but choosing the story or the narrative means to convey this message, to reinforce this message. And we find, when we look at the stories, that they come in three basic forms. The first being stories about the prophets. In these stories, Allah talks about a variety of different things. The lives of the prophets, the responses of the people, the struggles that they went through, etc. In the second category, we find stories concerning events and people who were not known to be prophets, like Dhul Qarnayn, the sons of Adam, the people of the cave, etc. And in the third category, we find stories being related from incidences which took place in the life of the Prophet ﷺ.